Okay, my name is Megan Gonzalez, and I will be doing my presentation over Sanfilippo syndrome. So first, what is Sanfilippo syndrome? It is a rare genetic metabolic disorder that results in fatal brain damage. This syndrome is a form of childhood dementia affecting 1 in every 70,000 children that have the inherited gene. So, a few characteristics physical, this child will have enlarged head and an enlarged tongue. They will have mildly coarse facial features. So, it will look a little bit like they're maybe more angry. They will have movement disorders and they will have potentially visual and hearing impairments. And all of these characteristics do gradually increase and become stronger over the course of their lifespan. So then we have cognitive, that would be intellectual and developmental regression, as well as dementia and epilepsy. Social and emotional, this child will have more hyperactive behavior and communication difficulties as well. So some strategies for the home would be just to create a safe environment for the child, keep breakable items out of reach, maybe put gates up in certain areas where there's stairs, keeping sharp objects off counters and away from the child. So another strategy for the home is keep the child occupied. Have something for them to do, like watch their favorite television show or play with toys, but it has to be gentle toys. And also provide your child with safe biting objects. For children with Sanfilippo syndrome, because they do have physical characteristics that are unlike a typical child, they are going to be more prone to teething on certain objects. So having safe teething objects to avoid other hazardous materials would be really important. Also, installing cameras to observe the child's sleeping behaviors would be really important for children with Sanfilippo syndrome. It's known that they have pretty rough sleeping patterns, so most of the time they don't really even sleep that often. And so installing a camera would be good for parents, caretakers to observe when their child is awake and when they are not. So for strategies for school, having a good relationship between the parents and teachers is really important, and making sure to create an individualized plan for the child is also really important because every child is different, and so meeting the needs of a child with Sanfilippo syndrome is really important. Also remembering that regression will occur. So for a child with Sanfilippo syndrome, they're not going to grow and develop like a typical child cognitively and physically, but mostly cognitively for school purposes. Regression is going to occur, and so intellectual abilities will begin to decrease over time. So keeping that in mind is really important. Also ensuring socialization. So making sure the child is around peers as much as possible in a safe manner, treating that child as if they're just like the rest. So that is really important. Lastly, determining and communicating the best ways to manage behavioral issues. So this is really important, kind of going back to the parent and teacher relationship. The parents are going to manage the behavior issues one way at home. And so communicating with the teacher how that should be at school has to be communicated and is really important for the child's development, because if they're getting treated one way at school, for their behavior. And then another way at home, it can be confusing. And so making sure that it is pretty much the same for school and home. Obviously, it's going to be different because teachers different than parents, but making sure for the most part there is the same management for those behavioral issues. And then for treatments, there is currently no cure for Sanfilippo syndrome. There is currently research being done um, across several clinical trials, but there's no cure. So donating to certain foundations is really important. So that way cures can be developed and cures can be found for children. So lastly, I have listed here 4 resources for anyone who's interested in learning more about Sanfilippo syndrome or donating. Um, So there's the Cure Sanfilippo Foundation, the National MPS Society, Sanfilippo Children's Foundation, and Team Sanfilippo Foundation. So I hope this informational handout was helpful to anyone who wanted to know more about Sanfilippo syndrome or knows someone with Sanfilippo syndrome. So thank you.